Hey nerds, this is Brian from Good Nerd Bad Nerd, and you are watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Theories and Conspiracies. Last night we had the episode titled One of Us, which was the showdown between Cal and his team of villains that he had put together from a bunch of enhanced humans that were on the Index, and Coulson and his team. It was a pretty amazing episode with some of the things that were confirmed and revealed and just hinted at for what's going to come. So first, really quick, let's just talk about Cal and his team. Cal, obviously Calvin Zabo, is Mr. Hyde from the comics, and we actually got his backstory really briefly about his abilities, and he is what you would expect for someone named Mr. Hyde in the comics. He experiments on himself. He's a chemist. He's been working on his formula and tinkering with it in order to get it to something he's happy with. And he's talked about the kind of side effects and how he basically has schizophrenia to an extent. But I think if he remains a big player in the series, we will eventually have to see something similar to him hulking up. Because in the comics, he is a big brute when he does go full Mr. Hyde. So that's cool that he explained that to his team. Now his team, we had Wendell, who was his tech guy. We had Francis, who was some like permanent steroids, so he was the strong guy. Carla, who was the Lee press-on dagger nails. It was a strange look to go for her. And then Angar, who was really kind of the key, and he's the one that Calvin is really needed. But none of them were too impressive, but Angar actually is a character that comes from the comics. So is Carla, but in the comics she doesn't have dagger nails or anything like that. But Angar is known as Angar the Screamer, and a minor character, nothing too important. I'd be surprised if we actually see him again in this series. So that's the team. The whole point of this team was actually just to have Cal taken by Gordon. And Gordon is the Inhuman with no eyes. That's the teleporter. He took him to their safe house, which I'm assuming is in China based on the decor and some of the previous scenes we've seen there. Maybe in Tibet, somewhere in the mountains, hidden, because they want to remain hidden, and that's what he's being told. Now, Gordon is not the one punishing Calvin. He is going to take him to whoever's in charge, and we will not see who that is probably for a while because Marvel hasn't cast it, because I'm pretty sure that they are taking him to see Black Bolt. The Inhumans, they're a monarchy. Black Bolt is the king. His wife Medusa is the queen. His brother Maximus the Insane, or the Maximus the Mad. It's one of those. It's a royal family. So Black Bolt is the one who's going to make a decision on Cal's fate, and I don't think we're going to see him yet. That's a big reveal for later on, but we will find out his fate eventually. And I think eventually we're actually going to get the name Black Bolt dropped, because as the more of the Inhumans are being revealed, we kind of have to figure out that it is a monarchy. So that was very cool and a nice little, just really quick scene. Next, we got to talk about May's ex-husband. That was a wonderful addition to the show, and if there weren't any connections with him, it still would have been cool to see that side of May and see how he handles Sky and all that. But we actually do have a connection with him to the broader Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that is the school he works at, is it Culver University. That, if you remember from the last Hulk movie, is where Banner goes to try and get some of his research and get taken care of. And that's where Dr. Samson works. Doc Samson was played by Ty Burrell in the movie, but I don't think they will keep that casting if they move forward with this Doc Samson character, because eventually Samson gets a dose of gamma radiation, nowhere near what the Hulk does, but he gets long green hair and really, you know, built muscles. And actually, at one point, I mean, like his namesake, his strength is actually related to the length of his hair, which is kind of ridiculous for this comic. And I doubt they will do that if they go that route with Doc Samson. So that's just a cool little throw out. The Doc Samson character actually does have a relationship with Talbot, who is the Air Force general, admiral. That's been, he was the one in the government that had been hunting S.H.I.E.L.D. and Coulson had been, you know, had a kind of an adversarial relationship with, but now they're kind of all better since he basically took down all of Hydra for Talbot. But so there is another connection there. So that is interesting and may come into play at some point. But all of that, I'm not even going to get into Fitz and Simmons, because Simmons is just upsetting me right now. Not Elizabeth Henstridge, just the character of Simmons. She's I just don't like the way she's acting. But the big thing for this episode is what Bobby and Mac are a part of, and this new S.H.I.E.L.D. There are so many questions about this, because it's got to tie into the larger picture. So with that being said, there is a whole bunch of other S.H.I.E.L.D.-like organizations in the Marvel Universe that, you know, theoretically it could be. I don't think it's most of them, but really quick, I'm going to run through them. First, there's Armor, which is the alternate reality group. There's Hammer, which was the organization to replace S.H.I.E.L.D. that was run by Norman Osborn. There's Sword, which is the basically the aliens. They have a high orbital space station. They protect the Earth from aliens. There's Strike, which is a UK version or a British version of S.H.I.E.L.D. There's Wand, which obviously deals with magic and magic incursions. Now, I'm not saying we won't see anything like that with Doctor Strange coming into play, but that's not what this group is. Then there's two other ones. There was Safe and Hate. Now, Safe, initially you would think, based on what it is, it was a U.S. Answer to what S.H.I.E.L.D. was in the comics. Now, S.H.I.E.L.D. in the comics is a international peacekeeping force. At various times, and sometimes it's just U.S., sometimes it's international, but when it was an international peacekeeping force, SAFE was the U.S. answer to that. I'm not even sure if it's canon. It was in a team-up book, not a comic, but actually a book of Spider-Man and the Hulk. And then there's Hate, which was a parody of S.H.I.E.L.D. from another, I don't even think it was Marvel, but it was a parody of S.H.I.E.L.D. So it, you know, is worth mentioning. The most likely candidate that I see is that this is a variation on Hammer. Now Edward James Olmos, we know, is coming into play next episode. Looks like he is the leader of this group. He is not Norman Osborn. I'm not saying that, but I think what we are getting is a group sanctioned by the U.S. government to fill the void that was left by S.H.I.E.L.D. And they knew Coulson was out there looking around, so they've been recruiting kind of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to take over and fill in and get anything that Coulson still had, and specifically the toolbox. Now, what Hammer is they were established by Norman Osborn and this group, and this came out of the Civil War. So, where in the comics it was, after the Civil War and the Secret Invasion, this could be leading into to the Civil War. I hope I explained that correctly. But I think this split is going to be part of what one of the many things that drives the Marvel Cinematic Universe towards the Civil War. And it'll be interesting to see what side Bobby and Mac actually do come down on, because this is going to be a thing where it's not like Hydra, and not like Hydra's running S.H.I.E.L.D., but it's a organization that's kind of doing good, but its methods are a little more brutal. So that's what I think is going on. I think this is going to be a variation of Hammer, and I think you're going to start to see a lot of characters that are actually villains in the comic showing up, and that's going to be questions that Coulson has to deal with and wants to get answered. But it'll be interesting to see who and what Edward James Olmos' character actually is and what his motivation is. So, what do you guys think? What did you think of the episode? Who do you think the new Splinter S.H.I.E.L.D. group really is? Let me know in the comments. Let me know on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. Give me all your theories, and let's figure this out. But for Good Nerd, Bad Nerd, this is Brian, and this has been Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Theories and Conspiracies.